This video is going to be an introduction to solving multi-step equations. When you have an equation like this, it says 6x plus 5 minus 15x equals 32. If you notice, you have two sets of x's right here. Okay, well, what are you supposed to do? I mean, before we've only had one variable, and we had to try and solve it. In this case, the first thing we do is clean up the equation and make it easier to solve. We need to combine the like terms on each side of the equation. So like if I just covered this up and only looked to the left right here, I would put together the things that are alike. I have 6x and a minus 15x. So right there, those are the two that look the same. And if you notice, what they did was they put them together, and see how that minus is in front of the 15? That goes right here. So 6 minus 15 is negative 9. So now we have an equation that we're able to solve. Because now what's the next step? We should know that we need to move this 5 to the other side. Okay, so now use your equation solving skills to isolate the variable. You would subtract 5 from each side. You get negative 9x equals 27. Divide by negative 9. You divide by the exact number that's with that x. And x equals negative 3, because a positive divided by a negative is a negative. The solution is negative 3. Now you need to make sure you're always checking. So right here, you would put the left-hand side of the equation, right here, 6x plus 5 minus 15 into y1. The left-hand side into y2. You then would press second graph. You'd look and see where you think your answer is negative 3. You'd look here at negative 3, and if y1 and y2 are the same, that means you got the correct answer. So now let's look at this equation. If you notice, it says 3 parentheses, x plus 5 equals negative 6. Okay, you have to do the distributive property. You have to take the 3 times the x and the 3 times the 5. Okay, I'm jumping ahead of the PowerPoint. It says, before we begin to use any of our equation solving skills, we must first simplify the equation by using the distributive property and eliminating the parentheses. I call it hippity-hoppity distributive property. Because first, I'm going to take that 3, and I'm going to multiply by each one of them. See right here, I call this my hippity, and then my hoppity. That's just me being silly, but 3 times x, and then 3 times 5. So when you do that, 3 times x is 3x, 3 times 5 is 15. That equals negative 6. Well, now from here we can solve our equation. Subtract 15 from each side. You get 3x equals negative 21. Now this is where people get messed up, because this is negative 6 minus 15. I've got 6 negatives and 15 negatives. Well, you got to think, how many total negatives do you have? Negative 21. Now we divide by the exact number with the x, which is the 3. So now you get x equals negative 7. Okay? Now to be able to check it, you're going to put the left-hand side into y1, the right-hand side into y2. You're going to press second graph, and then you're going to look in here. X is negative 7, y1 and y2 are the same, so that means that you are correct. Here's the next one. Right here, let's think about each side of the equation and what we need to do. Again, we need to simplify the equation by using the distributive property and eliminating the parentheses. So now I take the 4, see how both of them, you take the 4 times the x and the 4 times the negative 5, and the negative 2 times the x and the negative 2 times, well really I would take this negative 2 times negative 14, but a negative and a negative makes a positive anyway. So you would have 4x minus 20 equals negative 2x plus 28. Okay, well now look, you've got x's on both sides, so you've got an x on the left and an x on the right. Numbers on the left, numbers on the right. So now you've got to move the variables to the left, to one of the sides, and I normally like to always move them to the left side. So I'm going to add 2x to each side. See, you could move the 4x, but you're going to see a lot of people are going to, a lot of teachers will show you to move the x's to the left because it's easier when we solve equations with inequalities down the road. You get 6x minus 20 equals 28. Now you're going to move your numbers to the other side, so you add 20 to each side. You get 6x equals 48. Now you divide by 6, you divide by the exact number with the x. X equals 8. To check it, you're going to press y equals, you're going to put the left-hand side into y1, which is the 4 times the x minus 5, the right-hand side into y2, that negative 2x, or negative 2 times x minus 14. Press second graph. We think the answer is 8. You'll go and look and see that y1 and y2 are the same, so that means that we are correct.